It's late at night. If you're staring at a screen right now, frustrated because you've once again woken up at 2 or 3 in the morning for no apparent reason, and already worrying about how exhausted you'll feel tomorrow, then stop blaming yourself for a moment. Because what you're experiencing may not be a malfunction at all. In fact, waking up in the middle of the night isn't nearly as unusual as modern society has led us to believe. And what you're about to hear may completely change the way you think about insomnia. For most of human history, waking up during the night wasn't considered a problem. It was simply normal. To understand why, we need to travel back in time. Long before smartphones, before electric lights, before the Industrial Revolution, back to a world governed entirely by the sun. Before artificial light existed, night followed a very different set of rules. Once the sun disappeared below the horizon, humans, creatures that rely heavily on vision, lost one of their greatest advantages almost instantly. For our ancient ancestors, darkness didn't just mean silence. It meant danger, predators, unknown threats, things hidden beyond the reach of sight. Then came fire. A campfire carved out a circle of safety in an otherwise hostile world. But its impact went far beyond warmth and protection. For the first time, humans extended the day. And when the immediate pressures of survival eased, something remarkable happened. People gathered around the flames. They shared stories about the day's events, passed down knowledge, discussed plans for the future, and wondered about forces they didn't yet understand. Many anthropologists believe that these moments around the fire helped accelerate the development of language, imagination, and social cooperation. In other words, some of the foundations of civilization may have begun as simple conversations beneath the stars. But that raises an interesting question. When the fire eventually died down, when true darkness returned, did our ancestors sleep straight through until morning, the way we're often told we should? The answer may surprise you. Because if modern sleeping habits were transported back in time, we might be the ones considered unusual. Today, many people believe that 8 uninterrupted hours of sleep is the ideal standard. But historically speaking, that idea is relatively new. Historian Roger Ekirch uncovered something fascinating while studying ancient diaries, literature, court records, and medical texts. Before industrialization, people throughout Europe commonly referred to something called a first sleep and a second sleep. They would go to bed shortly after sunset, sleep for about 4 hours, wake naturally for a period of time, and then drift back into a second sleep until dawn. This pattern is now known as segmented sleep or biphasic sleep. And it wasn't a rare exception. It appears to have been widespread. In the 1990s, psychiatrist Thomas Ware conducted a now famous experiment. Participants were exposed to extended periods of darkness each day for several weeks, removing much of the influence of modern artificial lighting. What happened next was remarkable. Over time, many of them spontaneously began sleeping in 2 separate phases. Between those phases was a quiet waking period lasting 1 to 2 hours. And perhaps the most fascinating part wasn't the sleep. It was what happened during that time awake. Historical records suggest people would tend the fire, pray, reflect, talk with family members, or simply sit quietly with their thoughts. Some studies suggest that during this period, the body releases elevated levels of prolactin, a hormone associated with feelings of calmness and relaxation. The result is a state that many researchers describe as deeply peaceful, almost meditative. No deadlines, no notifications, no competition, just stillness. For many people, It became a natural time for reflection, a chance to process the day, organize their thoughts, or simply enjoy the silence of the night. To our ancestors, this wasn't sleep being interrupted. It was part of sleep itself. So what happened? Why did this nightly ritual, practiced for thousands of years, largely disappear? The answer may be hanging right above your head. The light. For most of history, human activity rose and fell with the sun. When darkness arrived, society gradually slowed down. People surrendered time back to the night. Then the Industrial Revolution changed everything. Gas lamps illuminated city streets. Electric bulbs pushed back the darkness. For the first time, night could be conquered on a massive scale. Hours once reserved for rest became available for work. Factories ran longer. Cities stayed awake later. And society gradually adapted to a new rhythm. As this happened, our understanding of sleep changed too. Continuous, efficient, uninterrupted sleep became the new ideal. And today, smartphones and glowing screens have pushed that transformation even further. The problem is that our biology hasn't evolved nearly as fast as our technology. Deep within the brain, the mechanisms that regulate day and night are still operating on ancient instructions. Instructions written tens of thousands of years ago. When blue light enters our eyes late at night, the brain interprets it as daylight. Melatonin production is suppressed. Natural sleep rhythms become disrupted. We've extended the day and shortened the night. We seem to have gained control over time. Yet in many ways, we've drifted further from the way our bodies were originally designed to function. So perhaps it's worth looking at those late-night awakenings differently. When you suddenly open your eyes at 2 or 3 in the morning and find the world completely still. When you glance at the clock and immediately start calculating how many hours of sleep you have left. When anxiety begins to spiral because you're thinking, why am I awake again? Maybe there's another way to see it. Maybe your body isn't failing you. Maybe it's remembering something ancient, something older than cities, older than electricity, older than modern life itself. Of course, this doesn't mean every case of insomnia should be ignored. Serious sleep disorders that affect health and daily life deserve proper medical attention and professional care. But for some people, waking briefly in the middle of the night may not be evidence that something is broken. It may simply be an echo, a reminder of a rhythm that accompanied humanity for thousands of years. A rhythm that once connected us to the stars, the fire, and the quiet darkness between two dreams.